This moment right here remains one of the most memorable highlights of Dikembe's career and a historical moment in NBA history. Mutombo and his 8-seeded Denver Nuggets had just defeated the first-seeded Seattle Supersonics. It was an upset, the first of its kind, something that had never been accomplished in the almost 50-year history of the NBA. And today, we are going to do a little rewind to put some perspective on this once impossible achievement that had now been, made possible. As at the 93-94 season, it had been 10 years since the NBA adjusted its postseason format to include the top 8 teams from each conference. Prior to this time, the NBA had juggled through a number of different systems, some of them very weird compared to what we know it for today, like the format in which the first seed from both conferences automatically met each other in the semi-finals, and the winner gets to play in the NBA Finals against the team that wins the short series between the second and third seeded teams from both conferences. Unlike the way teams from the same conference meet with each other in every round to the conference finals to decide who represents each conference in the NBA Finals, in this system, the identical seeds from both conferences played against each other. What this looks like using the 2023 regular season standings is that Jokic and the Nuggets would face off against Giannis and the Bucks, the Grizzlies would match up with the Celtics, the Kings and the 76ers, the Cavs versus the Suns, the Knicks and the Clippers, Curry's Warriors versus the Nets, LeBron's Lakers versus Butler's Heat, Cat and the Wolves would play against Trey and the Hawks, the Pelicans versus the Raptors, and then we'll have the Young Thunder team versus the Bulls. I'm not sure where things go from here, but what this meant was that the NBA Finals could eventually take place between teams from the same conference, which would technically make it a conference finals. The NBA quickly evolved to implement a format much closer to what the system is today, but only the top 4 teams from each conference made it to the playoffs, and just before the shift to 16 teams qualifying for the playoffs, only the top 6 seeded teams got into the postseason. Beginning in the 83-84 season, there had been 18 playoff series between the first seeded team and 8th seeded team of each conference, and every single time the first seed qualified. Let's be honest, as much as the expansion to 16 teams was good for the fans of not very good franchises and NBA business, the chances of an 8th seed beating a 1 seed was almost impossible. Even in days of having only the top 4 seeded teams participate in the playoffs, it wasn't usual for the first seeded teams to be knocked out in the first round, and by the time the 94 season tipped off, 36 of the first 47 NBA championships had been won by either of the best teams from both conferences, and first seeded teams had only been eliminated 5 times in their first playoff series. This is to state the fact that the first seeded team had more chances of winning the NBA championship than being knocked out in the first round, and as such, it became an expected outcome for the 1 seed to go through to the second round every time. So in the 94 season, when the 8 seeded Nuggets were set up to play against the first seeded Supersonics team that had just ended the season with the best record across the league, the Dikembe's Nuggets came into the series as heavy underdogs. They had been a 500 team all year, and they were now to face a Supersonics team that won 21 more games than they did in the regular season. And although the regular season series had been split between both teams, everyone knew who was going through to the second round, or at least they thought they did. The Sonics opened up the series by taking a 2-0 lead against the Nuggets, as expected, scoring over 95 points in both games they won. Coming into the third game, they were looking for a sweep, like many other first seeds before them, but what they met was a Denver team that took fewer shots to score more points than it did in the previous 2 games. And they made Seattle take fewer shots and score less points than they did in the first 2 games. The Nuggets shot an outstanding 60% to win Game 3, but this was an unusual feat for both teams, as none of them shot above 45% in any other game. They had multiple games where both teams shot below 42%. Guys were throwing up shots, but they were not making them, just brick after brick after brick. The Nuggets shot a horrible 37% in Game 4 and still won the game. Apparently, good defense was a turning point in this series, and the team with the better defense had the best shot at winning. Interestingly, there were 3 Defensive Player of the Year finalists on the floor. Seattle had Gary Payton and Nate McMillan, who finished 5th and 7th respectively, whereas the Nuggets had Dikembe, who finished 3rd, just 4 points behind the eventual winner, his fellow African compatriot, the man Hakeem Olajuwon, and 3 points behind David Robinson. Although it was only his 3rd year in the league, Mutombo had established himself as a massive defensive presence and excellent rim protector. His long arms and overall frame made him the best shot blocker in the league at the time. He had averaged 4 blocks per game in the regular season, and he was also a formidable rebounder who finished the season averaging 12 blocks per game. In games 1 and 2, Dikembe averaged just 5 blocks and a below standard 9 rebounds per game, but all this changed by game 3, as Mutombo went on to display a defense masterclass in which he blocked more than 5 shots while grabbing more than 12 rebounds in all games they won. Two of his blocks came at a critical time towards the end of Game 5. After the series, this New York Times article headline said, "The worst eliminates the best in overtime." The Nuggets had just done the impossible, something they didn't think was achievable. As Dikembe had said in a post-game interview, "I can't believe it. I couldn't believe we won this game. We really didn't expect to win this series. We just wanted to make a good showing." This was a defining moment in Dikembe's career. His total of 31 blocks in all 5 games is a record that still stands to this day for a 5-game span, and he was a pillar in a team that had just done the impossible. Although the Nuggets got knocked out in the second round after 7 games, history still remembers the Supersonics collapse, and Dikembe's shout of victory could be heard all the way from Washington to his hometown in Congo. Prior to becoming the shot-blocking giant in the NBA, Dikembe's story began in the Republic of Congo, where he was born into a family of 10 children. Much like Hakim, he played football growing up while also participating in martial arts. Dikembe grew up desiring to be a doctor, and when he was 16, started to play basketball because, due to his height, his father and brother encouraged him to. When he was 21, he moved to the US and enrolled to study at Georgetown University. The Georgetown basketball team was the alumni of Patrick Ewing, who led them to victory over Hakim's Houston Cougars just half a decade before Dikembe moved to the US. While at Georgetown, Dikembe continued with his studies, having the intention to still become a medical doctor. But John Thompson, the coach of their college basketball team, recruited him to play basketball. During his first year on the team, he quickly established his presence as a shot blocker, recording 12 blocked shots in a single game. Alongside Alonzo Mourning, who himself was a premium shot blocker in the NBA, Dikembe helped lead the Georgetown team to back-to-back Big East regular season and tournament championships in 89 and 90. Before declaring for the draft in 91, Dikembe had won 2 Big East Defensive Player of the Year awards, one of which he shared with Mourning. Coming into the 91 draft, Dikembe was picked 4th overall by a Denver team that had finished last in defensive rating the previous season, and it made sense that they drafted Dikembe, who was an excellent shot blocker and defender. In his first year as an NBA player, Dikembe made the All-Rookie First Team, finished second in the Rookie of the Year votes, and got named an All-Star. But in spite of all this, he wasn't able to help the Nuggets qualify for the playoffs until his 3rd year in the league. And after the defeat of the Supersonics, Dikembe did not achieve much postseason success until the 2001 season when he joined the Philadelphia 76ers. But this wasn't due to him putting on poor performances, because despite the playoff failures his teams experienced, between the 93 and 02 season, Dikembe established his presence as one of the greatest defensive centers the game had ever seen, finishing in the top 3 for Defensive Player of the Year award for 9 consecutive seasons and winning the award a record 4 times in that span. He also led the league in blocks for 3 straight seasons and rebounds twice. Dikembe's combination of length, strength and long arms to stand between opponents and getting a basket led to him being called Mt Mutombo, and for this alone he was named to 8 All-Star teams. But as good a defender as Dikembe was, unlike other great defensive centers of his time like Hakim and David Robinson, he lacked the offensive arsenal to lead a team too far in the playoffs. Mutombo had his best offensive season in his rookie year, averaging 17 points per game, and without an equally great offensive player as a teammate until his time at Philadelphia, he scarcely got past the first round. The NBA of the 90s is regarded by many as one of the most competitive decades in league history. In the Eastern Conference, there were the Michael Jordan-led Bulls, Shaq-led Magic, and Patrick Ewing-led Knicks. Whereas in the Western Conference, where Dikembe spent his first 5 years as a pro, they had the Olajuwon-led Rockets, Sean Kemp and Gary Payton-led Supersonics, Barkley and the Suns, the Malone and Stockton-led Jazz team, Clyde Drexler and the Blazers, and the Robinson-led Spurs. With such fierce and stronger competition in the West, Dikembe's Nuggets never got past the 8th seed, and when he got to the Hawks, the Bulls and Knicks knocked them out in 97 and 99 respectively. Dikembe arguably had his best season in 2001 when he got traded to the Philadelphia 76ers at the mid-season trade deadline. During his time at Philadelphia, he had the one thing he had lacked his entire career, an offensive genius. Paired with Allen Iverson, who had already established himself as one of the best scorers in the NBA at the time. Heading into the postseason, the 76ers had on one end the league's leading scorer and reigning MVP, and on the other end, the league's leading rebounder and reigning Defensive Player of the Year. With AI on offense and Dikembe on defense, the 76ers beat Reggie Miller's Pacers in 4 games, Vin Carter's Raptors in 7 games, and Ray Allen's Bucks in 7 games on their way to the NBA Finals, where they faced up against the Kobe and Shaq-led Lakers team, who were seeking to repeat and win back-to-back championships. Up until the NBA Finals, the Lakers had not lost any game, as they had swept every team in the Western Conference. so the 76ers came into the series as underdogs, and although they managed to win one game, Shaq and Kobe proved to be too much for them. Dikembe averaged 17 points, 12 rebounds and 2 blocks in the finals, but it wasn't enough to get his hands on the elusive NBA trophy that would have capped off what had already been a fulfilling career. Dikembe returned to the NBA Finals 2 years later as a part of the new JC Nets team, but he wasn't at the peak of his powers and productivity anymore. The Nets lost the series in 6 games to the Spurs, and Dikembe announced his retirement a couple of years later. After 18 years in the NBA, Dikembe was and is still the second player on the all-time total blocks list behind Hakeem Olajuwon. He was also an 8-time All-Star and was elected to 3 All-NBA and 6 All-Defensive teams. Throughout his time in the league, Dikembe was known for his finger wag, a move he made after every successful block by waving his index finger in the face of the opposing player whose shot he just blocked. He developed it in his rookie season to become more marketable and gain endorsement contracts such as this one with Adidas.
Man does not fly in the house of Mutombo.
As much as Dikembe's on-court performance made him popular, it is arguable that he has become more known for his humanitarian work. A well-known humanitarian, Dikembe started his non-profit organization in the late 1990s to give back and improve the standard of living in Africa, especially in the Republic of Congo. Since that time, he has achieved a host of awards and recognitions, but most important is that he has changed lives in the best way he could. Some of what he has done includes partnering with the NBA's Basketball Without Borders program to help spread the game and improve the infrastructure here in Africa. Mutombo has also built a $30 million hospital on the outskirts of his hometown, and he also started a coffee company to foster women growers' participation in international commerce. This is his legacy, and Dikembe Mutombo continues to give his best to the world around him. So if you enjoyed this video, kindly like, subscribe, but most importantly, leave a comment down below and click on any of these cards on the right to watch other videos I think you would find interesting.